papers are there, right? The Olam has the papers? Okay. We're going to start. Yeah? You're going to start? You're up? Yeah. Okay. So, very interesting sugya today. It's a very lumdish sugya. I'm not going to make the applications myself, halacha l'maisa, but you can imagine yourself some of the applications halacha l'maisa. But the sugya itself is a fascinating sugya. And more or less, the sugya talks about when 5 people did damage together, who is liable? All of them, one of them, the last one, the first one. Let's talk about the case. I'll talk about the case. We'll throw the case out there because it's a fascinating shaila. I'm sure everybody would have a different answer. I'm sure everyone in this room would have a different answer to the question. And probably everybody's answer would be found in the Rishonim. That's the truth. So it's a geshmak sugya. The shaila is like this. There are 4 people sitting on a bench, on a park bench. And it looks like it's doing in pretty good condition. Now the 5th guy sits and it cracks. Why? Because it can't hold the weight of all 5 of them. So the shaila is, who's chayiv? Just the last guy? None of them? Or all 5? Well, right, because each one has a claim. The first 4 have a claim and say, well, look, what'd you sit down here for? We were doing fine. The last one has a claim and says, well, if you wouldn't have been there, I myself would have sat there. I also have permission to sit on it. So, or maybe it's a bench. It's made for people to sit on. No one did anything wrong. Maybe nobody should be chayiv. I'm not sure Shabbos is the same thing. But, what? The nefashos comes in, but what about Nezikin? We're talking. So and maybe we could tell too something at the end of this year. We discussed this last week with the luggage. That you had the first 3-4 people that put their luggage on the boat, and then the last guy put on the overweight. So we said, and according to the Smaz Pshat in the Rambam, you're allowed to throw off the last guy's stuff because that's the roidif. So why is the last guy's stuff the roidif? Maybe the last guy's stuff didn't do it by itself. So is that shaykh to the sugya? So there's a Gemara behind you. I made the copies. They should be there. There's copies there. It's on Yuram and Beis and Baba Kama, and there's a Gemara. Now, what's Gishmak is that the way we're going to come out, the 3 shittas in the Gemara is going to come out from different knetches in the Girsa and how to learn the Gemara. So we have to really follow carefully the Gemara. Okay, so really we're just going to learn the Gemara and speak out the Rishonim. We're going to do like a different type of share today. We're going to go through the sugya and try to pick out glean the halacha from the Gemara itself. Hadatanya, the 3rd line from the top, Yuram and Beis Baba Kama. Hey sheyashvu al safsol echad. 5 people sat on a bench. V'lo shavru, and they didn't break it. Uba echad, another guy came, v'yashav alav, and he sat on it, v'shavra, and he did break it. Ha'achroin chayiv. So the Gemara says, before any input, the Brisa says, the last one is chayiv. Okay? Now the Gemara comes in. V'amar Rapapa added, going Papa bar Abba, we're talking about a person of Papa bar Abba's weight. He was apparently overweight or whatever. And we're talking about a guy like that. Now, why we are talking about that guy is very unclear in the Rishonim. The Rambam doesn't even bring it down, so I'm not going to focus on that right now. But the Gemara says, Hechi Dami, what's the case? Ilema, if you'll tell me, de belav ihu loy itbar. It would not have broken without him. So that means it says on the chair a maximum 1,000 pounds weight. And you have 5 guys sitting there. Each one of them is 199 pounds. Fine. So they're fine. It would not have broken without the 5th guy, the 6th guy. So pshita, it should be obvious at this point in the Gemara that only the last one that sat there is actually chayiv. Because the first 5 did nothing wrong. Only the 6th guy that sat there, did he do anything wrong? And according to this step of the Gemara, the entire damage is on him. Okay? I'm going to just throw out there Rashi. According to Rashi, we're going to change off this assumption. But right now, this is the Hanach of the Gemara that only the 6th guy is chayiv. Ella must be talking about the belav iu nami. It would have broken without him. So then Adarabba, my kavid. So why should he be chayiv at all? The 6th guy sat there. The first 5, it would have broken without the 6th. So what's the 6th guy's responsibility? Now, on this question of my ka'avid, there's machlekes Rashi Tosfos. Rashi says, my ka'avid, if you look at the Rashi, it's a little bit, it's further down than the Gemara. It's like
first of the short lines.
my ka'avid. First, oh yes, so first of the short line. No, well it's actually, but Rashi says nechayiv klum. Tosfos says that my ka'avid means why is he chayiv alone? He should be chayiv together with the other. He should be chayiv as 1/6 of the damage. Okay, because he also ended up being part of it. Fine, that's machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. So, for the Gemara, my kavod soif masni. Fine. So the Gemara wants to say, okay, fine, but you have a brisa. The brisa is coming to tell me a chiddush that there's a case that the 6th guy is chayiv and not the other 5. So if it would have broken without him, so he shouldn't be chayiv. It's obvious. If it wouldn't have broken, but for him, then it's pshita that only he's chayiv. So the Gemara says like this: so here's the case. The belav ihu, if it weren't for him, have a mitbar betray shoy. It was sagging. It was about to break, but they had about 2 hours of time before it would have broken. In other words, it was overweight, and by them sitting on them, they did put the bench in danger of breaking, but they could have gotten up before it broke. V'hashta it bar b'chodasha, and now this guy sat down, it broke right away. So the Amri lay. Here's the chiddush: the first 5 could tell the 6th guy, ilav at. If it weren't for you, have a yasvina tvei porta v'kayamin. We would have sat down a little bit more, gotten up before it broke. So you really should be chayiv. And therefore, that's the chiddush of the Gemara. The chiddush of the Bryce is a case where really the first 5, it would have broken because of them. But they could have gotten up before it broke, and now that the 6th guy sat there, he made it break quicker, so therefore he's the only one that's chayiv. That's what the Gemara says. Frek the Gemara kasha v'leima lahu. Why doesn't he have a taina on them? Ilav atun, if it weren't for you, b'did ilav a mitbar, it wouldn't have broken because of me. How can you say I'm the only one that's chayiv? So now you have 2 claims back and forth. They're claiming we would have gotten up. He's claiming, yeah, you would have, but you didn't. You would have gotten up in 2 hours, but Lamaisa, you didn't get up in time, and it broke now, and it's not just me, all 6 of us broke it together. So who's right? So the Gemara seems to be going with that claim. So the Gemara says, Lo tzricha deba'adi desamach b'hu tavar, that it broke right away, and basically the Gemara says, Pshita ma'odatema koich alav geguv v'dam mikmashman, meaning the way the Rishonim learned this means that he held them down and he didn't let them get up. So, I would say that the most simple reading, the most basic reading of the Gemara is the way that we have the Gemara, which is the way the Tur has the Gemara. So let's go over the halachas based on the way we have the Gemara, which is the Tur, before we go with the Rashi and the Gra and the Rambam. It's unbelievable. This is just like Kanechas in the Gemara are going to change the whole halacha. But the way the Tur has the Gemara is the way we just read it, which is, if it would not have broken at all because of the first 5 people, if it would not have broken at all, and it only broke because of the 6th guy. They were under, right? Like I said, maximum weight 1,000, and these 5 guys are each 199 pounds. According to the Torah, they're potter. The guy sits down, the 6th guy, and it breaks 5 minutes later. He's chayiv by himself. Even though you could say, well, now that we're sitting here and it's 1,200 pounds, why didn't everybody get up? No. The Torah says, since when we sat there, we were not mazikim, we didn't have a shame mazik over here, we weren't damaging this thing, we're allowed to continue sitting. We do not have an achrayas to get up. That's the Gemara seems to say in the beginning of the Gemara, pshita. However, if it would have broken in 2 hours, and now that this guy sat there, it broke right away, and you didn't get up in time, the first 5, then all 6 of them are chayiv equally in the damage. And l'chara the pshat is, because you did have a chiyuv to get up before it broke. Now, all the 6th guy did was, he made that the time that it was going to break was quicker. But really, you had an achrayas to get up anyway. Right? That's the way Rabbi Malin explains the Torah. You had a chiyuv to get up. The question is, when did you have a chiyuv to get up? Did you have a chiyuv to get up in 2 hours and 1 hour? So the fact that the 6th guy sat there just brought in your chiyuv to get up quicker. It made your obligation to get up happen now, and therefore you're chayiv. Okay? Now, what's the case that only the sixth guy is chayiv? The case is when he didn't let them get up. So therefore, they can't be held accountable for their weight, and only the sixth guy is chayiv. This is the way the Torah learns the Rambam, learns the Gemara, and that's the halacha l'maisa in the Torah. However, there's a Rashi, that the Rashi is not mashma like the Torah, and the Gra goes to town on this Rashi. So if you look at the Rashi, it's the Rashi that says, Loitzricha de bahadi de samach alayu. It's in the end of the Gemara. And the Gemara says the case is that he didn't let them get up. Right? That was the case. So let's read the Rashi very carefully. We'll learn how to be medayik the Rashi. Divrei Maskil Loitzricha de bahadi de samach alayu. Zok Rashi. La'olam, really we're talking, de belav ihu loy have a mitbar klal. Really, says Rashi, we're going back to the first case, where without the sixth guy, the first five were underweight. And it would not have broken even in 2 hours. Udekaamret pshita, you said pshita. Loy tzricha, no, there's a chiddush. Dula yoshav alav ela amar aragav v'nismach aleim, and he didn't let them get up. So the Graz Medayik and Rashi, that Rashi argues on the Torah, that when the Gemara comes onto this whole new concept, that you should have gotten up, we're changing the original assumption of the Gemara. And we're saying that there's a new thing. There's 2 ways to be called a mazik on a chair. One is when you sit on it right away, and it's going to break eventually, so you're called a mazik. But even if when you sat on it right away, it would not have broken, but now someone else came and sat next to you, and between the two of you, it's going to break. The Gemara is mechadish that there's a chiyuv to get up before it breaks, because now it's the combined weight which is breaking it. So everybody that's being mishtatif in that combined weight has a shem mazik to it. So according to Rabbi Malin explains the Rashi that when the other guy sits next to you, he's converting you into a mazik also. It's like you all sat down together at the same time now.
You have a shem mazik before the hezek actually happened?
Well, you have a shem mazik. So according to the Torah, your shem mazik is chal because it would have broken in 2 hours. So you have a chiyuv to get up. So now that's for sure your chayiv, is if the guy sat next to you. But the chiddush of Rashi is that even though when I sat down on it, I'm not a mazik, I could have sat there forever and it wouldn't have broken. But now that someone sat next to me, and between the two of us, it would have broken. So Mamela, now all of us are mazikim, and Mamela, the chiyuv to get up is chal on all of us equally, and we're all chayiv the same. And that's the chiddush.
Why did it have to be that it's going to break in 2 hours in the Gemara's case?
What?
Why do you need that step of the Gemara that's going to break within 2 hours without the sixth guy?
The Gemara said that case to bring out the point that there's a taina that you should have gotten up. But once the Gemara is machadish that taina that you should have gotten up, then in a chanami, it goes back to the first case. That's what Rashi says. Lo tzricha, lo olam di bi alav lo have a mitbar.
The Gemara seems to assume that everybody knows that it's going to break, but how could that possibly be so?
That's a good question.
Well, there's a sign.
There's a sign on it.
Everything you buy today has a sign.
There's a sign.
Right up
The elevator
to
always says how much.
the elevator, the chair, the ladder.
Right.
It's all because of the tort lawyers.
Right. Like if you're the second person in my office, then my office only allowed to have one person in it. So it's not me. I was there first. They had rishos. That's the point. When they sat on it, they had rishos. But now someone else came. Now it's not just his fault. Now they're all together.
But if he's doing the one that's overweight,
He's the overweight, but now they're all overweight together. But now they're all in it together. That's the machlokes Rashi in the Torah. So let's go back to our shiloh from last week. I put on my luggage. The first 100 people put on their luggage. Now they're maxed out, and the last guy goes ahead and puts on his luggage.
Even that, but he has knowledge that will put it overweight.
Right. So we had last week that the Sma said that the last guy, he's the roidif. That's like the Torah. But maybe according to Rashi, it's the other pshat. That no, once all the luggage is on there, then everyone has to share in the weight equally. because all the weight is being right if you. It doesn't matter that you were there with permission. L'maisa at the end, all this luggage is there together being mazik you. Okay, so let's say there's a lot of times there's a certain amount of like a threshold on like a gas or poison or like certain things that you could spray. So there's a certain amount that is the threshold. Like, up to there is not a problem, and then another guy comes and adds on, somehow releases more, and then he gets over the threshold. So maybe everyone's chayiv together.
If there is no obligation of the other first 5 people to get up or whatever, take their luggage off, would you have to say that
There was no-
person
that-
didn't have rishus?
What?
You have to say the person didn't have
No,
rishus.
that's what I'm saying. That the Chiddush, Machlekes Rashi and Tais and Tur is in a case where the first 5 did nothing wrong whatsoever, and then the 6th guy comes, is all the achrayos on him? That's the Tur. Rashi says no. Once the 6th guy comes, he's making all of the weight into a
Why is it
mazik.
relevant that there's 5 other people on the bench? Let's say it was an inanimate object on the bench.
No,
A box on the bench.
no,
weighing
no.
1,000 pounds.
Because you need what's making you the mazik is the time of the Gemara. That the Gemara says,
Should have gotten up.
meaning, and you should get up. You need to have a chiyuv on the other people making them into a mazik. What's making them a mazik? They should have gotten up. If there's stamazoi, well, what do you want to do? You want to say its maximum weight is 1,000 pounds. If there's a 900-pound box sitting there.
So then, imagine it says the maximum weight is 100 pounds. For him, when you show up, it should
Okay.
be maximum weight 100 pounds.
So he'll be chayiv by himself. What are you going to be chayiv him only a sixth of the damage, only 10% of the damage, because the other 900 pounds was the box?
No.
No. So what's wrong? In that case, everyone agrees to the Torah. Afada, he's the only guy that's chayiv, because the only way you can make them into a mazik is because they have a chiv to get up. Since they have a chiv to get up, so now the fact that, according to Rashi, since they're not getting up, then the big mitzdarf in the hezek.
It's a very strange time. It's like somebody saying, listen.
I don't think it's strange. I think if you would take a vote, it would be 50-50.
You know, because you're on the road. If you wouldn't been on the road, you wouldn't have the accent. What kind of
No,
time
there's
is that?
nothing to do with this. There's no
If you wouldn't have
pshia.
been here, I wouldn't have had you. What kind of time is it?
No. He's saying is my weight alone is not the mazik. My weight is only the mazik with your weight. So all of us have the chiv to get up.
So you can say, I wouldn't have been a mazik in the car. if you
No,
wouldn't have
but
been."
you're the only
What
mazik.
kind of time is that?
You're the mazik. He's the
Is
nizik.
it specific when we said chad shah?
No one said that the guy with the bench is high because why'd you put the bench here? I'm saying, what?
Is it dafka that it was 2 hours and now it's 1 hour? 1 hour? If you would have sat down and broke mamish right away, they didn't have a chance. Then they wouldn't.
L'chayv, they didn't have a chance. That it could be that it's equivalent to him holding them down.
Doesn't the last guy who's grossly overweight have a special responsibility to care because he's extra overweight?
That's why I said that line in the Gemara about the overweight guy, it's unclear exactly what the purpose of that line is. There's one shita in the Rishonim, very interesting shita, that most people are not makbid on their chairs in general. So Memela, even if 5 people sit on my chair, they'll be potter. Because chairs are chairs. But I'm only makbid that an overweight guy shouldn't sit on the chair. So the whole Gemara is talking about that all 6 of them are overweight. Because if any of them are underweight, they're allowed to sit on any chair they get a hold on. That's the Rashbam's shita. That's shot in the Gemara. So it's unclear exactly what the purpose of that okimta was. That's why I didn't want to focus on that, because
According to Rashi, we switched the whole thing anyway.
we never had this yet. When it rains, it's hard to. What?
Anyways, according to Rashi, we did with the whole shear. That whole kimta.
That whole
was
kim-
only-
right,
was
right,
Before the
right.
change that everybody started to the head.
Right. So far, I think we have pretty clear Tur and Rashi, and it's mamash a shaila of like how to learn the Gemara. Did the Gemara go back to the first ukimta, or the Gemara is only addressing it here?
How do you know if the reserve of Asaf
They're all there b'fasachas. No, but the first 5 were first, and then the 6th guy came.
by himself?
Yeah, that's the
It's
case.
easier to hear that they're all mazikim if it's
Well, no, if they're all b'fasachas and avada they're all mazikim, that's poshut. No, what's the havamina in that like that?
I hear it.
No, here the chiddush of Rashi is that even though the 5 were sitting there,
And they left.
they didn't leave. The 5 were sitting there, and then they are there b'fasachas, but they sat there first.
Right.
And then the 6th guy came. Now all 6 are there together. Now they're there together, but when they sat, they were brishus.
Maybe the hand should be in the 5th guy, because the first 4 guys, it wouldn't have broke even in 2 hours.
No, so right, okay, so yeah, right, okay.
If the sixth guy never came and attacker broke in 2 hours,
Then you would have this.
Shiloh
Give us
with
him
the
shallow
fifth
with the
guy.
fifth guy.
Right, well, Kipta probably is all five sat together.
Even according to Rashi, if the 5 people already left, they already were massacred, it's gonna break.
Yeah, but they're done because they got up in time.
I'm saying
They got up in time. L'chora, we're not going that it's cumulative.
they already damaged it.
We're not going with this cumulative. It's got to be that the damage is all there. It's not like over the course of life of this chair it can only hold X amount of weight. I mean, once they get up, they're not mazikim anymore. Okay, so we have Rashi on the Torah. How do you look at damage which builds up? Rashi says at this point, if you have the chiv to get up, you're chayv also. Torah says not like that. Okay. Torah says it's only if you also were damaging it at least in 2 hours. But there's a Rambam. I didn't copy the Rambam, but there's a Rambam. The Rambam is a third shot in the Gemara. The Rambam is a third shita over here. When I say the Rambam, I mean the gross pshat in the Rambam. The reason I'm saying that is because we have a theory that if the Gra learns the Rambam this way, maybe it's negea lahalacha to know that. We weren't sure if it's negea, but let me read you the Rambam the way the Gra has it. It's in Perek Vav Halacha Yadalid. The Gra reads the Rambam like this. Okay, let's listen carefully. 5 people sat on a chair and it didn't break. Uba achroin, a 6th guy came, v'yashav lav v'nishbar. And then it broke. Afal pishaya ro'ili shaver bahen kaidim sheyeshev. Even though it would have broken eventually. Hoyel v'kirei v'shvirasai. Since he was mekarev the shvira, he made it happen quicker. Ha'achroin chayev. The 6th guy is chayev. Sharei oimrim loy, because the first 5 could tell the 6th guy, ilu loy nismachta alav, if you would not have sat on the chair, hayinu oimdim kaidim sheishavu, we would have gotten up. In other words, the Gra reads the Rambam that it's always the 6th guy, and the chiyuv is on the mekarev of the shvira. There's never a there's not the way the Gra says it. The Rambam is not goyris this part of the Gemara. That
Sounds like you were saying that he held him back from getting up.
that's the way the Beis Yosef reads the Rambam. But that's not the way the Rambam. That's not the way the Rambam. He reads it. He reads that the Rambam holds. The Gra holds that according to the Rambam is the third shita. That the 5 guys are never chayiv. The guy that's chayiv is the guy that was makar of the shvira. It's always the 6th guy. So we have 3 shitas. We have Rashi that says all 6 are always chayiv. We have the Rambam says always the 6th guy is chayiv. And the 5 never have, and the Torah is in the middle. The Torah holds that if the 5 guys did nothing wrong, they're potter, and the 6th guy's chayiv. If the 5 guys sat there and they were mazikit, just they could have gotten up before and they didn't get up in time, then all 6 are chayiv. The Rashbam holds that only overweight people are chayiv on chairs. Okay, fine. But Lamaisa.
What did he say again?
What? Are you related to Rabbi Mullen?
Not related, I learned the base at Talmud.
Oh yeah?
A long time ago, I don't remember any broken benches in the base.
I thought you were going to say I don't remember any whole benches. No, he was just explaining the machlokes Rashi and the Torah. He was just explaining the machlokes Rashi and the Torah. That the machlokes is, can someone else sitting next to you make you into a mazik, or it just makes it that machiv to get up happens faster. That's what he says. Okay. So we have the 3 shitas over here. We have now, obviously, according to the Gra, it would come out that the first 5 guys are never chayiv. So, this shita of the Gra is not mentioned in the Beis Yosef and it's not mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch. We had a shaila, we weren't sure in Hilchos Dayanos, could the nizik, could the mazik say kimli, like the Gra's pshat, and always be pater? There's a rule in Shulchan Aruch that if you're the muchzak, if you're holding the money and someone's trying to take money away from you, then you're allowed to say, I hold like the shita that says I'm pater, and you can't prove to me otherwise. Now, I don't know if you could say Kimli with a Graz Pshat on the Rambam against the Beis Yosef's Pshat on the Rambam if it's not mentioned as one of the Rishonim in Shulchan Aruch. So according to the Gra, it's one of the Rishonim, but I don't know if... So I don't know. We have to ask Rabbi Khan that question. I'm not sure. But it'll be a big nafkamina. So now let's see how the Shulchan Aruch brings this down. Okay? And we're packing in a very complicated Gemara Sugya into a few minutes, but so far it was clear? Nishmak? Okay. Let's see the Shulchan Aruch. We're going in order. So far, we learned Shinayin Ches, Shinayin Tes, and Shin Pei, and now we're up to Shin Pei Aleph. Okay? So Shin Pei Aleph, Shulchan Aruch says like this. Chamisha sheyashva ala kisei. 5 people sat on a chair, v'loy nishbar. Uba ha'achroin v'yashav olav. V'nismach aleihem, and he didn't let them get up. V'lo hinicham la'amoid. V'nishbar. Af al pi shayaroi li shaver b'hem kodim sheyeshev, even though it would have broken anyway. Hoyel v'kiriv shvirasoi. Since he was involved in the breaking, ha'achroin chayev, only the last guy's chayev shari omrim loy, because they could tell it, ilu loy nismachta aleinu, if you wouldn't have gotten in the way of us, hayinu oimdim kodim sheyeshaver, we would have gotten up before the breaking. V'im yoshu ke'achad, if they all sat together, like Menashe said, v'nishbar kulam chayavin, obviously, if they all sat together, then avada, they're all chayev. So the way the Shulchan Aruch brings down the Rambam is like this. It sounds like from him that no matter what, more like Rashi, no matter what, you have a chiv to get up. And so you have a chiv to get up. Even though when you sat there, nothing would have done, nothing would have happened. 1,000-pound limit, 5 guys are sitting there, they're all 199 pounds, we're good. Now a 6th guy comes, it's Masha in the Shulchan Aruch, all 6 are chayiv. Because now they have a time that they should have gotten up. But since the 5th guy, the 6th guy, the way he sat there, was he sat on top of all 5. He didn't let them get up. So Memela, now only he's chayiv. Because they have a taina, we would have gotten up in time. Okay? Interesting shaila, the Gra brings up. What happens if he did not add any weight? It was a case that it would have broken in 2 hours, but they would have gotten up. He did not add any weight. All he did was he tied them down. He held them down. He held them down with his physical, with his 2 hands, but he didn't add weight. It was the overweight was only because of them. So it's their weight. They have a chiv to get up, and he's not letting them get up. It's a grama. But the Gra held that the Gemara is coming to say koichai that he's responsible for their weight, and therefore he's chayiv. It's a big chiddush. Reb Leib Malin has a whole shtickle to explain that chiddush, but that's the Gra's chiddush. Also interesting chiddush.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
What?
Isn't that pretty obvious? It is the mazik.
No, but you're not chayav for grama.
I don't know if it's so obvious because I could have heard it's a grama. Grama is indirect damage. Really, the damage is being done by the weight of the 5 guys. I'm just not letting them get up. So I take over their cries for their weight.
That's not the whole point of kochel. You're adding more.
You're adding koch, but not adding weight. So apparently the Gemara has a whole chiddush
Yeah, but kochel
that
is like
since
weight.
you're putting in force, not weight, but you're putting in force into them, you're taking over their cries on their weight.
He's directly preventing them from getting up.
He's adding a different way.
He's directly preventing them from getting up, but the weight that's damaging them is their weight.
Weight really is nothing but force.
I did an act of tying them up, and then minutes later the damage happens.
No, I don't know about tying it up. If you would just tie them up, I don't know if you'd be chayiv actually.
You'd be popped because you're growing.
Here you have to be holding them down.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, that's the difference. The
Yeah.
difference is, I don't know why you're saying it's not grama, because I'm physically, grama is, it's a step removed. I did the action, and a minute later that.
Here, there's koichai. That's the Gemara saying. There's koichai here. There's my force is what's holding them down, is what's putting the mazik here. My force, it's not increasing the weight, but my force is putting the mazik here. So therefore I'm chayiv. Yeah, but if I would just tie them down and leave, I would not be chayiv.
And then, what do you say to their argument when they say, hey, I was trying to get up, but this guy tied me down?
I get it. So you're an oines and I'm a groma. And that guy is bad luck.
So you still
There's nobody that's chayiv.
Oh, nobody does chayiv. He's an honest.
No. The guys that trying to get up and can't are potter.
Oh, okay.
You have to know about Adam Mud Loilam on that. They're oinus, very nice. But I guess that's oinus gomer. It's not b'chal. It's not them. They didn't do a mice at all. When they sat there, they were not even mazik. Right. So now, l'cha'ira, if a guy just tied them down, he's potter.
Even if he's intending that he break the bench.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen right, unless it's mamish happening right that minute.
He says, I know, I'm going to find a way to break the
But that's the concept of grama. And grama means indirect damage, meaning it's not from my force. But here, when I'm holding them down, then my force is bringing the mazik there, then I'm chayiv. That's the gra, says Rashi, holds fine. But Lamaisa, the way that we have the Gemara, the way we have the Shulchan Aruch, the Sma learns, is like Rashi, that basically if you could have gotten up and you didn't, all of you are chayiv. If he held you down and he added weight, then we only make him responsible for the hezek because he added weight and he held you down. Okay? So far, so good? Okay.
You're not chayiv for not being shaymer the bench. You're chayiv because I'm more loyal. According to everybody, it's not that I wasn't mishamer, that I didn't get up in time. I'm not being mechayiv because I didn't wash the bench koroi. I'm being mechayiv because the bench. If I didn't know that it had a weight limit, and I sat down on the bench, and then I'm afraid that it had only.
I don't think you have to know.
I don't have to.
Right, that makes no difference.
No, I didn't get a chance to stand up before
Right.
you came.
No.
I was sitting there. You sat down next to me. The bench broke. The two of us are chayiv.
That's Rash. That's
That's
the
what I'm saying.
yeah. But if you look in Gra Aleph, here let me. I want to have the same print as them because I don't know what line it's in. If you look in Gra Aleph in this long Gra, so I want to show you where it's the third wide line. So third wide line of the Bir Gra, he says Aval Divrei Rambam Ef Shalafarish came. If you look in the Rambam, you cannot be mafarish the Rambam the way the Shulchan Aruch is being mafarish the Rambam. Ella nira sharambam loy garas v'leimelu etc. Elachi garas tfeiporta v'kaimelu tzricha etc. And then he says like this in the next line. He says Dafka b'chiyah gavna v'al zechar zeh. But if the one comes after the one, la'oylama achroin chayiv. Always the last guy is chayiv. Im lav du b'lav yuanami mitvar, unless it would have broken only from the first two. So he says it's either the first five or the last one. They never combine to become chayiv. That's the way the Gra learns the Rambam. And if you go then, if you go all the way to the bottom of the Gra, right before the end of the piece, he says, "Aval l'girsis Rambam hakol nichal v'hi hamichuveres," meaning the Gra says clearly that the Ikra is like his pshat in the Rambam. So open Gra, learning up the Rambam, not like the Shulchan Aruch learns up the Rambam. So it's very fascinating how that would play out, Ladina. Okay, so far we have Rashi's pshat, which the Beis Yosef says is the Rambam, and that's Mechaber. If following Shulchan Aruch, we should already know that the Ramah is going to bring down the Tur, because the Tur goes with the Rosh usually and Tosfos, so he's going to bring down the Tur. So let's see the Ramah, and let's see if it sounds familiar from the Tur. So first he brings the Rashbam, v'yesh oimrim is the Ramah, the stam sapsel, he she'ula l'stam b'nei adam, v'im nishbra tachtein, ha'v'kimesa machmas malacha, p'turn min l'shalom, elim kain, ha'yoyshvim, heim meshunim, u'shmeinim, u'kvedim shar b'nei adam. So we're only talking about people that don't have permission to use the bench. That's also number one. But now that we're talking about people that don't have permission to use the bench, us. Im yashval biyachad, if they all sat on there together, v'nishbra tachtein, and it broke, kulan chayavin l'shalim. They all have to pay. That's obvious. They all sat together and it broke. V'im yashu b'zachar zeh, and if they sat one after the other, im lo yahisa nishberes, if it would not have broken, below yeshivas ha'achrein, it wouldn't have broken, but for him, hu levad chayiv l'shalim, only has to pay, like the Torah. Even though they could have gotten up and saved the chair, since when they sat there would not have broken, they're potter. But if it would have broken anyway, who potter, obviously, fine. But if it would have broken in 2 hours, and when he got on, broke in an hour, and they could have gotten up in time, and they didn't. Oz royin. Im samach aleim, if you didn't let them get up, so it's the Torah. That if they could have gotten up, if when they sat there they had a shame mazik, because they could have gotten up, but they started, it would have broken in 2 hours, and now that the guy sat next to them, it broke quicker. So they're telling us, hey, we would have left beforehand. Then they're all chayiv. If what they did was absolutely nothing, and then someone else came and was mashlim it, then only the last guy will be chayiv. So you find such a thing like that. You know, Rabbi Kalani was calling a shiloh. Let's say I have to pay you because I made your thing treif. Okay, so you have a soup and some treif ingredients fell in, but the amount of treif ingredients that fell in would have been batal b'shishim, and I added in the rest, and I made it now that the treif ingredients are not batal b'shishim. So now because of me, assuming that making your treif food is called hezek, which is subject to the shin pei hey of hezek shein and nicker. Well, let's say I have to pay by making your food treif. So el chayr will be machlokes the Rambam, the Mechaber, and the Torah. The Torah would say that, I mean, I'm not sure exactly. According to the Mechaber, then both people are chayiv. It's true. I'm not sure actually, because there's nothing he could have done at this point. Only the last guy's chayiv. Yeah, because the first, in order to make the other guy a mazik, it has to be that you could take it out. Right. So chayr there, only the last guy's chayiv anyway, according to everybody.
If they sat down on the bench, if the guy sits down on the bench and it breaks the second he sits down, they didn't have an opportunity to get up.
So chayr only is chayiv. It has to be that.
No, if they were going to be anyways, if it was going to break after 2 hours,
They would have gotten up.
I think it's the same thing as him not letting them get up.
Why?
Because you have to have the shame, the pshia is with this.
It's not a pshia. You're being chayiv but not mazik.
Yeah, but I'm only a shame mazik now because what's mechayiv me on the hezek of today is because
the 2 hours you're a mazik.
No, but it has to be that I have a chance to get up. It has to be that I have a chance to get up. Otherwise it's his koyach and that's it. Also, it's probably koyach there. Anyway.
So this is all based on a certain knowledge that there's a possibility that the
No,
bench is
but
correct.
maybe not. Maybe none of them know.
But so why doesn't the Gemara deal with the fact that there's a certain expectation that a bench is supposed to hold a certain amount of weight for a certain amount of time, that everybody just assumes when they sit down that of course it's not going to break, it's a bench.
At some point, people realize that this is too much weight, and they have a responsibility to get up.
When you feel the bench start listing and cranking it up.
So, right. So the fundamental machlokes here in the two main shitas in the Mechaber and the Torah, the Mechaber and the Ramah is the machlokes Rashi and the Torah. Really depending on really it boils down to how you learn the Gemara. When the Gemara asked the kasha that why didn't they get up? Was the Gemara only asking it on the second case, or was it asking it even on the first case? And that, depending on how you learn the Gemara, that's going to be the two that comes out in the Shulchan Aruch. And the machlokes is does the fact that you're on a bench breaking, even though when I sat there, nothing would have happened. The fact that now I could have gotten up is the not getting up making me into a mazik. Mechaber and the Rashi is saying it does, and the Torah says no. The fact that you could have gotten up doesn't mean anything. It has to be that you were mazik to begin with. That when you sat there it was going to break eventually, and that's what makes you have to get up. So
Why do you look at that they knew that eventually it's going to break? Why do you look at that?
first of all, Adam Mod Lo'ilam. Adam Mod Lo'ilam. So even with
Why
Oinus.
they're Oinus?
So they're not Oinus. No, but they're not mazikim b'chol. It's not me. It's you. I'm not mazik on this. Not getting up doesn't make me a mazik. You're the
They
mazik.
knew it was going to break.
Doesn't matter, but they're not the mazikim on it. You get up. I'm sitting here with you. He's telling me, you get up. Let's go. I'm staying. I'm planning on being here the whole afternoon. You get up. The chiv to get up is only on the last guy. That's what comes out. So, okay. Everybody say next week shouldn't pay base. Very, very clear. Okay, let's turn this thing off.